athava or bahunam, bahuna many, itena by this kind, kim what, jnatena knowing, tava you, Arjuna O Arjun, Visthabhya entire, aham I, idam this, krutsnam all manifestation, eka one, amesh amashena part, sthitat situated, jagat in the universe, or many by this kind, what knowledge you Arjun entire I this all manifestation one part situated in the universe. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. But what need is there, Arjun, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Purport. The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universes by his entering into all things as the Super Soul. The Lord here tells Arjun that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know that all things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as Super Soul. From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, on down to the smallest ant, all are existing because the Lord has entered each and all and is sustaining them. Worship of demigod is discouraged here because even the greatest demigods like Brahma and Shiva only represent part of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He is the origin, everyone born, and no one is greater than him. He is Samata, which means that no one is superior to him and no one is equal to him. In the Vishnu Mantra, it is said that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiva, because at once an atheist. If, however, one thoroughly studies the different description of the opulences and expansion of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt Krishna, without any doubt the position of the Lord Krishna, and can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. The Lord is all pervading by the expansion of his partial representation. The super soul who enters into the everything that is pure devotees, therefore concentrate their mind in Krishna consciousness in full devotional service. Therefore, they are always situated in the transcendental position. Devotional service, the worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in verses 8 to 11. That is the way of pure devotional service. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the opulence of the Absolute. So my realization from this verse is that we studied the opulences of the Absolute, but here Lord says that Arjuna, that there is no point in understanding how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know all things are existing due to Krishna's entering into the Super Soul. Also, Srila Prabhupada here explains that worship of demigod is discouraged herein because even the demigod like Brahma and Shiva, they only represent part of the opulence of the Lord. And here the Lord, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he is a Samata. That means no one is superior to him and no one is equal to him. So I was reading one of the Srila Prabhupada's canto lecture from Canto 10, verse 6, where Srila Prabhupada mentions that the Lord Sri Krishna, in all pervading supersoul, lying on the bed, understood that Putana, a witch who was expert in killing small children, had come to kill him. And when Krishna saw that the Putana had come to kill him, he thought that since this woman was present with motherly affection, although it was artificial, he had to offer her a benediction. Therefore, he looked at her with a little perplexity and then closed his eyes again. Even Putana Rakshasi also was perplexed. She was not intelligent enough to understand that she was taking a sleeping snake on her lap. She thought the snake would be like an ordinary rope. But the two words Antakam and Anantam are contradictory here because of not being intelligent. Putana thought that she could kill her Anantakam, but the source of annihilation, and because he is Ananta, Lord Krishna, unlimited, no one can kill him. Lord Krishna, the Super Soul, knows everything in everyone's heart. He knows everyone's determination and everyone's want. He knew, therefore, the reason when Sudama coming to see him, he knew that driven by extreme poverty, he had come to see Lord Krishna at the request of his wife, thinking of Sudama as his very dear class friend. He knew that Sudama's love for him as a friend was never tainted by any desire by material benefit. So Krishna thought Sudama has not come asking for anything, but he is being obliged by his request, by his wife's request. He come to see me just to please her, but Lord Krishna therefore decided and he would give more material opulences to Sudama than could be imagined even by the king of the heavens. Also in further, in same Bhagavad Gita Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, verse 3, 15 to 17, where Srila Prabhupada explained the Mahat Tattva, the total material energy, which is undivided. But because of the material modes of the nature, it appears to separate into earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Because of the living energy, the Jiva Bhuta, these separated energies combine to make the cosmic manifestation visible. But in fact, before the creation of the cosmos, the total energy is already present. Therefore, the material energy never actually enters the creation. Similarly, although you are pursued by our senses because of your presence, you cannot be pursued by the senses, nor experienced by the mind or word. With our senses, we can perceive some things, but not everything. For example, we can use our eyes to see, but not to taste. Consequently, you are beyond perception by the senses. Although in touch with the modes of similar nature, you are unaffected by them. You are the prime factor in everything, in all pervading, undivided supersoul. For you, therefore, Srila Prabhupada mentions that for you, therefore, the Lord, there is no external or eternal. You never entered the womb of Devaki, rather, you existed there already. For this, the same understanding is also explained in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 4. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtinam Matsani sarva bhutani na chaham tesha avastitaha. Translation: by me, in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So the Supreme Personality God is not perceivable through the gross material senses. It is said that the Lord Krishna's name, fame, pastime, etc., cannot be understood by material senses. Only to one who has engaged in pure devotional service under proper guidance is he revealed, as stated in Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 38. One can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, always within oneself and outside oneself. If one has developed the transcendental loving attitude towards him, thus for the people in general, he is not visible. So therefore, it is said that although he is all pervading, everywhere present, he is not conceivable by the material senses. But actually, although we cannot see him, everything is resting in him. The entire material cosmetic manifestation is only a combination of his two different energies, the superior and spiritual energy. The superior, the spiritual energy, and inferior, the material energy. Just as the sunshine is spread all over the universe, the energy of the Lord is spread all over the creation, and everything is resting that energy. So, if however, one thoroughly studies the different description of the opulence of the opulence and the expansion of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt the position of Lord Krishna. Lord is all pervading by the expansion of his partial representation. The super soul who enters into everything, that is pure devotee. Therefore, one has to concentrate his mind in Krishna consciousness in full devotional service. Hare Krishna. So this is my realization from this verse.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Sopan Prabhu, for your nice realization. And thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, Hare Grace Punpraka Devi Dasi Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Smarpan Krishna Prabhu for organizing this nice program and giving me the opportunity to share my realization. So, in this verse, this is the last verse for this chapter, and Sopan Prabhu has covered the omnipresent and omniscient quality of the Lord that is present everywhere. So Lord Krishna explained that his opulence is in this chapter, which we can concentrate and see Krishna in this creation. But in the end, in this verse, Lord is saying, what need is there for all this knowledge? So why Lord is saying that? Because by knowledge itself, we cannot know Krishna. As Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna enters in every atom of this creation and sustaining them. So for me, I have realized that both knowledge and devotion must go together. By knowledge about Krishna from Srila Prabhupada books, we get attracted to Krishna more and more. And by devotional service, we cultivate the personal relationship with Krishna. And second point is the Lord is saying that with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So super soul is expansion of Lord Krishna, which pervades everywhere. So when we pull, like on the weekend, His Grace Amrish Prabhu covered this point very nicely about Lord Krishna being the root. So when we pour water to the root, the whole tree and its leaves are satisfied. So Lord Krishna is the root and everything comes from him. And Srila Prabhupada is saying that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiva, becomes at once an atheist. And this is the Nama Prad as well, that to consider the name of demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. So they are not equal or not independent. So actually, no one is independent in this world. Everyone is dependent on Lord Krishna. And only devotees of the Lord can understand this fact. That's why a pure devotee is who is 100% dependent on Krishna. So it depends on our surrender, how many percent we are dependent on Krishna, and Krishna will reciprocate according to that. And in the last line, Srila Prabhupada is saying that how one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. So this chapter, the opulences of the Absolute, so where Lord Krishna explains different opulences. And so the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is when we see those opulences and and that reminds us Lord Krishna. There's that the root cause is Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. So when we know this fact, then we can properly devote ourselves to Krishna. So yeah, these 2 points that I realized from this verse, that about the knowledge and the Lord is present everywhere. He's the root of this whole universe and every creation, every living being. So that's my realization. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Sopan Prabhuji and Sanjay Prabhuji, for your nice realization. And thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, His Grace Purnpagya Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Prabhu for organizing this self-realization programs and giving us opportunity to study and share what we learn from this Bhagavad Gita verses. So today we're studying this verse, chapter 10, verse 42 is a last verse, is the concluding verse of this chapter. So here, Athava bahunaitena kimnyatena tavarjuna Vishtabhyaham idam Krishnam Ekamshrena stito jagat. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada here in a translation But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So Prabhupada actually explained this very nicely, that Krishna is saying that with a single fragment of himself, he pervades the entire universe with his actually partial representation as a super soul. So actually, here is a question is asked, Krishna posing question to Arjuna, what is a need there for all this detailed knowledge? And actually, when he started this discussion, when we studied the previous verses, so actually, Arjuna, when he asked Krishna to explain his divine opulences, and he wanted to know, because he wanted to understand how Krishna is actually pervade, this entire universe. He wanted to actually know Krishna, and he wanted to know how he can constantly remember Krishna by actually gaining that knowledge, and in which various forms, Krishna can be remembered. So that is the objective he had in mind when he actually requested Krishna to explain his divine opulences. And Krishna, then he actually explained, it's only some of the prominent opulences, because there is no end to Krishna's actually splendorous manifestations and opulences that we actually studied, in the previous verses. So actually, just meditating on all those actually points that we learned, while studying the opulences that Krishna described. And the one point, actually, what we understood is that whatever we see, around us, whatever we experience, in everything, actually, Krishna, he excels everyone. He's always the best among the best. And that is his opulence, So that's actually, that actually helps me to remember Krishna, because that is very good question by Arjuna there, that actually, how we can actually remember Krishna constantly, because that is the ultimate objective for a devotee, because he wanted to achieve that state, having actually constant remembrance of Krishna. So learning these opulences, there's a lot to learn, because there are so many things, if actually this question was not asked by Arjuna, and if there was no opportunity for Krishna to explain all these opulences, we may not have realized all those actually, the opulences that Krishna described, that he's actually the, his intelligence, he's the wisest of the wise, he's the, actually means all the opulences that we actually discussed so far, there's so many point stands out, and actually it also help us to purify ourselves, our consciousness. Even actually it what it really helped me to actually how we can also give us our envious nature, because Krishna also explained that point, that any ability in man, anything good that we see in other living entities, that is also the representation of Krishna's opulence. So even, and it is well known fact that actually, if you really want to actually achieve the favor of Krishna, that one thing that we'll learn to give up is the enviousness, especially enviousness towards Krishna or his devotees. So I was actually meditating on this point, on this question that Krishna asked, that what is the need there for all this detailed knowledge? So what I think here for myself is that it really helped me, this knowledge, try to actually understand Krishna better. By studying these opulences, I think definitely it will improve our remembrance, because everything that we see around, because we studied all these verses in greater detail, that will always, we remember all these things around us, whenever we experience, when we deal with the people. So that actually help us to keep our ego in check, that will help us to keep the enviousness in check, and that will definitely will help me to actually purify myself, by understanding Krishna's opulences. even we understand all this karmic reaction that I'm experiencing in my life, So that is also one of the Krishna's mercy only, because he says that he's the actually the rod of chastisement. I like that point very much. And when we discussed that, it was really revealing point that sometimes we think that we're suffering quite a lot, but that is actually remedy for the rectification, So definitely it's really help all this, knowledge that was explained in previous verses. And in the end, actually, Krishna is saying that with a single fragment of himself, he's pervading entire universe. So as a super soul, actually his expansion, partial expansion, he's actually entering into this universe and in all the living entities, even living and non-living, he existing within the smallest atom as well. So Krishna is everywhere, as we understand. So if we understand this one single point as well, then, we can actually definitely, it will help us to actually again improve the remembrance of Krishna, because actually understanding and realizing this point that actually Krishna is present everywhere is also very important point, because we know this knowledge, means we heard this information, but actually to realize it or experience it on daily basis, maybe it's a different matter, but actually as we study more and more, I think definitely it will help us, to memorize, to remember Krishna. The second point here, actually, what I thought is important here is that I think Sanjay Prabhu also explained this point very well, that we should not actually compare demigods, So there is no one equal or greater than Krishna. So that is also a very important point, because we always, sometime, especially initial stages when we do not have proper knowledge, we sometimes think other demigods on the same level of Krishna. Even maybe sometime some people have attachment to the demigod worship, they also need to realize this point. Even this is for me as well, because means I do not struggle with this point, but I think we have to actually, from the preaching perspective, how to actually realize and explain this point is very, very important. Because here it says that actually anyone who actually think or actually compare Krishna to a level of, Brahma or Shiva or other demigods, he at once become a theist. So that is quite a dangerous situation. Actually, if you lose faith and there is no Shraddha remain in your heart, then it is very hard to progress on the path of actually devotional service, because that is actually beginning. You need to have the Shraddha first, and then the actually rest of the actually process, that is actually explained to attain the actually pure devotional service, the sadhu sangha, and actually having that constant association and all those points that we discuss, it all begins with the Shraddha. So actually need to actually learn, how to actually do not commit this offense. So Krishna's, position is supreme, and no one can be equal or greater to him. That is very important. So, and the last point here, where Srila Prabhupada said that how one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. So we also actually studied the seed verses, and that's very, very important. That actually means we all of us know all those verses by heart, but actually to realize all those points and actually to implement it is very important, because those 4 verses, actually they are quite revealing, because we studied those verses quite a long time ago, but every time, actually as we keep studying various subject matters, all those points are coming again and again, and actually we're realizing those points in a greater depth. So actually those are the actually basis, of a actually pure devotional service. So that point actually when Srila Prabhupada made a statement here is very important. So Krishna, he's actually in the end, he's a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's the actually ultimate, object of our worship. So these points actually I realized from this last verse. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for your nice realizations. Athava bahunayatena kim nyatena tavjuna Vishtabhyaham idam krutsnam ekam shena sito jagat. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So all the devotees have very nicely described the importance of bhakti and also the not importance of this detailed knowledge. And I can very much resonate with this verse. This is the last verse of chapter 10. And the first thought that came to my mind was when Srila Prabhupada was asked by one of his disciples, Srila Prabhupada, can Krishna create a mountain which he cannot lift? The answer to that given by Srila Prabhupada was that yes, he can. And then after creating it, he will lift it. So we always hear this Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta. And the opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is unlimited. And it's not fathomable or measurable as such with our limited capacity. And we are talking about even the material creation, 25% of the material creation, of the total creation. 75% is spiritual. There's a very nice reference that Srila Prabhupada has given on this, relating to the understanding of Lord Krishna's creation in Canto 8. So I'm just going to read the respective reference. One who is subject to death cannot measure the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Trivikrama, Lord Vishnu, any more than he can count the number of atoms on the entire planet Earth. No one, whether born already or destined to take birth, is able to do this. This has been sung by the great sage Vasishtha. So Vasishtha Muni has given a mantra about Lord Vishnu. Nate Vishnu Jayamano na jato mahiman param anantam apaha. No one can estimate the extent of the uncommonly glorious activities of Lord Vishnu. Unfortunately, there are so-called scientists who are subject to death at every moment. But we are trying to understand by speculation the wonderful creation of the cosmos. This is a foolish attempt. Long, long ago, Vasishtha Muni said that no one in the past could measure the glories of the Lord, and no one can do so in the future. One must simply be satisfied with seeing the glorious activities of the Supreme Lord's creation. And then the reference of this verse is given. The material world consists of innumerable universes, each one full of innumerable planets, which are all considered to be products of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's material energy. Yet, this is only 1/4 of God's creation. The other 3/4 creation constitute the spiritual world. Among the innumerable planets in only one universe, the so-called scientists cannot understand even the moon and Mars, but they try to defy the creation of the Supreme Lord and his uncommon energy. Such men have been described as crazy. Nunam pramataha kurute vikarma. Such crazy men unnecessarily waste time, energy, and money in attempting to defy the glorious activities of Urukrama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I am just trying to take 2 points. One point is for the realization for my own self. And then the other point is also because we are a preaching organization. So yes, we may have the faith and we may believe that there is no one supreme than Lord Krishna. And then there's the second aspect, which is because you are a preaching organization, you are going to come across different people from different facets of life, and you will be asked these questions, and how do you convince them? So in Srila Prabhupada's quotes and letters to his various disciples, this mention is there that one day the scientists will also understand antimatter. And in their trying to understand source, because essentially the scientists in the material world are intelligent class. So in their trying to do so, they may be able to understand antimatter. This everything that we're talking about here is antimatter. And so I just wanted to take 2 aspects. The first aspect was, how does this relate to my own development, my own Krishna consciousness? And for that aspect, I always personally wanted to share this with all of you, that I always personally felt that when there was a lot of descriptions in any of the scriptures about Lord Krishna, and then there was a lot of logical maybe aspect to that, or measurable aspect to that, or calculative aspect to that, I never felt so much interested in knowing that, because I felt like, okay, that's all good, but it's more like the faith that Krishna can do anything. That aspect was more attractive than actually trying to logicize or trying to make calculative sense out of things. And I felt that anything relating to Krishna, it cannot really be based on calculations. So when Srila Prabhupada explains the purpose, the sweetness of Krishna consciousness, and what we are trying to achieve, then that goes all anti-matter, that goes all about your firm faith, your firm conviction in the fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that he can do anything, and anything is possible for him, and there is nobody like him. So that aspect, these verses help you to re-establish. So that aspect has already been established in your, the faith has already been established in your beliefs and your thoughts. But when you read these verses, then they help you to re-establish those thoughts. So that was the first aspect. The second aspect was, when I was thinking that if we are saying that we are a preaching organization, then we cannot, there will be questions asked, challenging questions asked, and we're going to reach out to all different parts of the society. We may reach out to scientists, and we have reached out to scientists. And then how do we explain this aspect? And that's the challenge. And then again, with the help of these verses and with the help of our own conviction and faith, I think it is possible, because today we can see that the calculations or the trial and error that the scientists are deriving after doing so much research is actually establishing, or is again re-establishing what is already there in the Vedas. How much is the measurement from, from the sun to the moon, or the earth to the sun? All these things have already been explained in our scripture. So this, again, I'm talking only about the material aspect of it. But I think that personally, that if the scientists are convinced about the matter aspect, the material aspect, and if they can, relate to the Vedas, then they can go and they get convinced. Then they can also get convinced about the antimatter part of it. And there is a lot of interest in the scientific world on the antimatter part at the moment. So Srila Prabhupada has definitely said this, that in the future, there will be time when the scientists will start to think about these antimatter things, and that way there will be more more increase in the thought process of accepting Krishna consciousness, or of accepting the spiritual realm and spiritual world and Vaikuntha planets. So hopefully we all can, at least for myself, I pray that we can be part of that little endeavor to be able to push Srila Prabhupada's wonderful Krishna conscious movement in that direction. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare, dear devotees. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for organizing this class, and thank you so much, all the dear devotees, for your very nice realization. Athava bahunatena kim flatena tavajuna Vishtabhyaham idam krishtanam kritsanam ekam sena sthito jagat. So in this verse in chapter 10, it was about the opulence of the Absolute, which is Krishna. So we understand and realize that Krishna is the reservoir of beauty, of glory, of power, of knowledge and opulence. Krishna is the powerhouse from where all beings and things get their splendor. So we must make Krishna the source of all glories and the object of our worship. I mentioned in my previous realizations that the appearance we feel any service is nectarian, either doing chanting or cooking or doing anything as any other services for Krishna. And that's the reason we should try to purify ourselves so that we can purify our services. But I realized from this verse that we should try to satisfy the Krishna with our little attempts, because Krishna is the enjoyer and we are the enjoyed of the enjoyer. So to make enjoy the service, to become an enjoyer of that service, we have to perform our service in a way so that the Krishna enjoys it. And we also realize in the last class that said that watering roots and that watering the roots means worshipping Krishna, pleasure all the demigods, and watering roots gives the whole tree its growth and beauty, and gives the fruit as well. Because they are also worship, because all the demigods also worship Krishna. So we have to satisfy the supreme God, and all the other demigods will be satisfied with that. So in this verse, it's nicely bind up with that Krishna is the all supreme head and all reservoir for the worship. But how we are performing this, how we are taking this is definitely shows in our attitude that and it definitely shows it to ourselves that if we can, our own performance is teaching for us that we can realize that where we have to purify ourselves and where we are doing good, where we have to improve ourselves. So this was such a good chapter for all about the Krishna's all supreme personality of Godhead and how we have to accept through Arjuna that he is the old reservoir, and we have to just focus on this, that we are just absorbing ourselves and filling this nectarine so that we can satisfy Krishna. So that was my realization, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you everyone for so much nectar pouring on, and the realizations are so beautiful. I would also like to share my realization for this verse. Athva bahuna tena kim gyatena tavarjuna Vishthabhyam idam kritsnam ekanshena sthito jagat. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So as devotees already shared that Krishna he is residing in every atom, and his opulence is everywhere, and nothing is without Krishna. We can't fathom anything without Krishna. So then also I think Sanjeev Prabhu shared that so what is the need for this knowledge? So I remember as being Indians, I was aware of Krishna, and I knew about Krishna, but not with this perspective what Srila Prabhupada has given us in his purports, and it was more towards the emotional side of it. That we were emotionally very much connected to Krishna, and thinking he is God and this and that. But when we read the purports here, which Srila Prabhupada has given so nicely, and then our faith gets very firm, and then we understand that how Krishna is the source of everything, how whatever we can see is just his opulences everywhere, and then realize the supremacy of Krishna. And also before we used to think all gods are same, these are whatever you do, they are all the like all the rivers go to sea, same process is there. So even if you worship anyone, you will get the liberation, but it's nothing like that. And it's when Srila Prabhupada has very nicely given us the purports and showed us that what is written in our scriptures, the supremacy of Krishna, and all other demigods are under him. So that has given good knowledge. So this knowledge is very important. And when as Sanjeev Prabhu has mentioned, that knowledge and devotional service has to go hand in hand. So when we understand the knowledge and then perform the devotional service with knowledge, then surely that is a different perspective at all. And then also there is a very beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 and verse 30. Sadhi bhutadi devam sadhi yagyam cha ye vidu prayena kale api chama te vidur yukta chetasah. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can with steadfast mind understand and know me even at the time of death. And that is what is the purpose of this Krishna consciousness, which we are all the time trying to practice. This is all the practice, the whole lifetime we do, that at the time of death we can remember Krishna. So as Krishna's devotees always enlighten one another, and by conversing about him, his opulences, his pastimes, about him, everything. So that helps us to always be in Krishna consciousness mood. And also I would like to read few lines from this purport. The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord. And by his grace, one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme God. At the same time, one can really understand the constitutional position of the living entity and how the living entity forgets Krishna and becomes entangled in material activities. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness in good by the laws of material nature. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness, and that it should be fully utilized to attain the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. So what I understand is that association which we are getting very nicely in WECAN group, and every week 3 times, 4 times we are associating with devotees, like-minded devotees, conversing about Krishna's pastime, Krishna's opulences and his glories. So it helps us to bring us closer to Krishna. And we understand that how we have been always put in situations where for time being, even if we try to do devotional service, it becomes difficult for us. But with the help of wonderful devotees, we always come out of that situation, and somehow we jump upon again and try to do the devotional service. So for me, this from this verse, understanding all the opulences about Krishna, getting the association of all the wonderful devotees, and then helping each other to come out of this material life and getting remembering Krishna at the time of death is the gist of it. And as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in this verse, in the purport of this verse, that about the that verses of chapter 10 from 8 to 11 are very important, and that is because the gist of Bhagavad Gita is those 4 seed verses, and we have to always remember that. I try to, but as I'm sometimes very forgetful, so just hope that I don't forget Krishna at any time. Remember his opulences, even doing any menial work. It's very difficult for me, but I will try again and again, and hopefully one day I'll succeed. So that is my realization for this verse. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for your nice realization. We have covered a very amount of points, in this, which is very nice. And as you come to close this chapter, I'm the source. Krishna says that in the 4 seed verses, that he's source of everything. And at the end, he says, what is the use of all this knowledge? It is knowledge. Because my fragrance, my small segment, small portion of mine, I pervade the whole universe, whole creation. So knowledge and detachment should be hand in hand. Devotional service and knowledge should be hand in hand. But if we are not detached, then this knowledge becomes a little less effective, you see. See, Krishna is full of 6 opulences. He's got all the opulence. He's the owner of everything. Of the 6 opulences, okay, everybody can give one opulence, please, all of us, please.
All
fame.
strength.
All strength is one. Thank you.
All fame.
All fame. Thank you.
All beauty.
All
Beauty.
beauty. Thank you.
All power.
All power. Is it an opulence? Is it there?
Strength, Prabhuji. Strength or power.
Strength is there.
Yes.
So what did we cover so far?
We covered Prabhuji, all strength, all fame, all beauty, and there is all there's 2 more. Oh, sorry, 3 more. There's all vairagya, Prabhuji, detachment,
So
and
don't Google it now.
And all
No,
knowledge.
all knowledge and money. Yes,
all wealth.
wealth.
Okay. So these are all 6 opulences, which qualifies himself to be called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means it's opulences, and Van means one who possesses. Called Bhagavan. Okay, which we know. Now, of this, all the opulences, the biggest and the most important opulence which Krishna possessed is nothing to do with one's wealth or knowledge or anything. It is his detachment. He creates everything, he's the owner of everything, but he's detached from everything. Okay. Now this, we have to understand this point. We have discussed this in the past also. Yes, detachment, we should be detached. But the thing is this, that we feel we are not detached because we find that Krishna's opulence does not relate to us. We feel that Krishna is somewhere, we are somewhere else, he is God and we are not. So we are not connected with it. There has to be a direct connection between what Krishna's opulences are and our life. If we are able to connect these two, then we are in the process of self-realization. So what did we learn? What did we learn from all these opulences? Is again summarized in the Bhakti in the 4 seed verses. I'm the source of all spiritual world. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worships me with all their heart. This is the first point to understand. Okay, he's owner of everything, and what devotees do. Then he says, then talks about the devotee. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss by learning one another and conversing about me. Okay, what do devotees do? Then he says that to those who are constantly engaged, devoted and engaged, worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Now he is talking about what he does for those who are taking pains to try to understand him. And out of compassion for them, I dwelling in their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this is where he does special favor on those devotees. There's a favor he does. Out of compassion that he shows. Now he will do this. All these 4 verses are where if we are not connected to Krishna, then we find that this becomes an extra effort for us to perform devotional service. But if you're connected to Krishna, then this becomes a natural process. And it should be a natural process for us. Okay, we have to understand this. It may not be coming naturally for now, but it should become natural. It should become our nature, not second nature, but nature. You understand this, that because of our attraction to material nature, we are struggling. There's no connect with it. Now let's understand one point. Of all the opulences, the most sublime and important is detachment of Krishna. Okay, so what does it mean to us? Krishna, we think Krishna is detached. Wait for him. He is God. I should be detached too. Krishna, give me detachment. Please bless me. We pray like, which is very good. But how Krishna's detachment? What do we learn from that? We should be detached? Yes. How? Be detached from the family, material, that's okay. That's basic understanding. That is how we had learned. We had become Krishna conscious by understanding those points. But now we should be talking about practically implementing this. How is it? How is it? There is a direct connection between Krishna's detachment and our behavior. See, Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, his specialty of Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj is that every verse which we come across, we should learn something to help change our behavior. This is the most important thing. Once we try to have this attitude, then we'll be able to practically implement things in our lives. Otherwise, we'll remain philosophical. And philosophical people are not practical people. We want to become practical people. Because more and more people are going to find problems which are insurmountable. They were not unsurmountable problems before. Now they are insurmountable because we are dependent upon so many external things which are not natural surrounding us. We don't realize this point, that how this extra things, this material things, the prosperity that we think we are, or the advancement of material civilization is actually giving us more trouble and it is making our problems unsurmountable. There is nothing straight about it. So now let's talk, just make small examples of this detachment. So Krishna is detached, meaning what? We have rebelled against Krishna. That much we know as leaders program, devotees and leaders program. You rebel. Why? Why you? I also want to become God. Okay, that's why we came here. Now we rebelled against him. But at the same time, he mercifully gives us the body to enjoy as God. But with that comes his eternal time, which brings deterioration. Everything deteriorates, everything changes. All these things come with it in this material world. Everything is temporary. And to think that in this material world that we are living life is not a real life. A real life is a life without the body, where the concept of time doesn't exist, where life is eternally blissful. Here we've got temporary, where the problems are not there, we think it is blissful. They're only temporary. So detachment of what Krishna has makes him a very, very transparent and soft individual who has no qualms about dealing with things. When Krishna killed the horse demon, this incident is given there. This word has come there. What is the name of the horse demon? Huh? Keshi. Yes, Keshi demon. Thank you. So when he killed Keshi demon, it was said that that the horse is, that he's got this hairs on the neck. They used to flutter, and that fluttering would cause flutter in the heavenly planets. It was so big, so powerful, and Krishna killed him very easily. And after killing him, Krishna just stood there and moved on as if he did not do anything great. He was not proud about it. Very interestingly, when he killed so many demons, but for this he specifically mentioned in the Bhagavatam that he was not particularly, he was not showing off anything. As a matter of fact, moved on. You see? So Krishna's heart is very simple, very simplistic. If we want to love God, then we cannot love God by becoming complicated. This operance of his is very deep. Detachment. It's very simple. He would cry with the gopis. Gopis would cry, he would cry. When his devotees come for help, he'll help. When people come to kill him, he's standing in front of them. Here I am, try to kill me, I'll kill you. You see? So he is very straightforward, very simple, no complications. Material body means complications. And with any amount of complications, we must forget about going back to Godhead. So, as I said, that in the leaders program, ego, selfish interest, all this, I do not want to spend any time in this, with myself also, with any one of you also. If I or you, any one of us are still victimized by this ego and all, then we don't deserve to be in the leaders program. We should be out of all these things. Our concern should be about this constant remembrance of Krishna. This point came into this discussion. Constant remembrance of Krishna. That's it. This is the only botheration we should have. Now, his detachment is such. We rebelled. We came out from there. In the material world, we're having this body. But in the body, whom we are existing in this body, he's also existing with us. He's not left us. Yeah, we know this point. Yeah. When we are still in the warm in the stool, he's with us. With all our inhibitions, likes and dislikes, this and that, he's still with us. He never gives up on us. We may give up on people for their shortcomings or long comings or whatever comings or goings, but he will not leave. We have to learn from this. He will not give up. So how can we give up? That point is called trying to understand the connection between Krishna and us. If we are really devoted to Krishna, then how can we give up? That doesn't mean we should be foolish and be victimized. No. Krishna also not foolish. He also doesn't get victimized. He has his own energies working for him to protect himself. He doesn't need protection, but for his own self, but for the self of the living being. The time is there, karma is there. He's entrapping living beings. They're getting on their own entrapped, So, but the important thing is this: that equal vision should be there between devotees and Krishna. Heart should be the same. Same thing in the heart. So, what is the one point that we should learn from this point of detachment and all? Can anybody say, please? But what do you think? All answers are right answers. What is the one point that one has to learn from this ability of Krishna? We spoke about detachment, what I spoke just now. What do you think we should inculcate when we're dealing with everybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah,
Yes.
we should keep our ego aside and always remember Krishna constantly.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
As you explained that never give up,
Yeah.
because Krishna never give up and somebody else never give up on me.
Mm.
So I'll do the same. Never give up. Yes.
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. You explained that point that Krishna, because he's detached from all the opulences, even if he possesses all of them, and he's very soft in his heart, he's simple and straightforward. So I think that point, resonated with me, that we have to be very simple in our dealings. So probably that will help us with the detachment as well.
Yeah, at least in devotional service, we should be very simple. Materially, we don't have to be simple. People will kill us, But at the same time, we are not envious of people. That is correct. Okay, thank you. So what is it that one thing that we should be doing? Yes, others, please. Thank you. Huh? Nobody's there. Matajis are not there now. They've gone away.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, I was bit on and off because I was cooking. I just heard from you, Prabhuji, that's same thing what my Prabhuji said, that about the simplicity. Krishna is so kind, and we have to be calm as well ourselves. That's what I was thinking, because even the small things happens, then sometimes we get I get angry or something happens, like, so need to be calm down and have some simplicity in the devotional service.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So as you gave the example of Keshi demon, Krishna killed, and then he was standing like he has done nothing. So us also, if even if we something do, should not get puffed up that we have done this, we have done that. There is no credit of us at all. It's all Guru Maharaj's mercy, that whatever happens is his, just because of his mercy, devotee's mercy, and so the credit is not ours. So that I picked up, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
See, if we have got complete disconnect from what Krishna is and what we are, we'll still go round and round on the basic point. If Krishna is detached, if Krishna is not giving up on us, what we have to do is tolerate. This one thing is very important. We are not important. We think we are important. We think that the world should revolve around us. I'm the center of the whole world. This is how we should learn from Krishna, his detachment. As he doesn't give up on us, then we also have to learn to tolerate. Now we learn to tolerate not for others' benefit. That is another wrong point. I'm tolerating you, Prabhu, not for others' benefit. You tolerate for your own self, otherwise you'll have your own, your body will be distressed. So for your own sake, you must learn to tolerate and forget and move on. Things which you can change, can change. You can't change, make sure that you are not disturbed by this, but you move on. But remember this one point. Move on meaning, if others are not keeping up with you, it is their folly. You cannot stop for people. Krishna is living as a living being. He is with everybody. That is correct. He gives knowledge to everybody. That is correct. He gave Bhagavad Gita to everybody, to Arjuna, and to Arjuna to everybody. Yes. But if we do not want to take advantage of it, Krishna's world doesn't stop because of us. That point we have to understand. The world should not be revolving around us. It revolves around Krishna. For that we have to understand this and we have to tolerate this point. That's it. The only way we learn this is when we are detached by these things. Then we are tolerating. We're tolerant for this thing. Somebody tolerated us, we tolerate them. The sooner we understand this point, that the world does not revolve around us, we'll be happy. All our problems that we have got, at least the problem of Adi Bhautik and Adhyatmik, may not be that if you got illness and all, this another thing. We're not talking about, at least the Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, is because of this point. And I believe personally that Adhyatmic Dukh is the biggest Dukh. You'll never know you are suffering because of Adhyatmic Dukh, your own self-inflicted miseries of your mind and brain. So this point of detachment is very crucial. And that is possible through tolerance. Tolerate and move on. You'll be able to tolerate if you are able to move on. If you stick to the point, if you're sticking there, you'll become diseased. I'm telling you this point. Okay? And Krishna is so magnanimous, his devotees are so magnanimous. Now see, another point which came in the discussion was that about demigods, not equal to independent. But see, understand one thing. Lord Shiva is a very important personality. When Sanatana Goswami Maharaj, when Sanatana Goswami writes about in his Bhagavatamrita, he talks about Gopakumar, he reaches higher planets, he goes beyond Brahmaloka, he became Brahma, and still he was not satisfied. Then he went to further planet, going up from the layers of the material creation, earth, water, fire, air, ether, 10 times bigger. He reaches another very interesting and very beautiful transcendental abode there. He sees a very important personality. It was Lord Shiva there. And Shiva was with his wife, Parvati, and all his associates. He was dancing and singing, glorifying, glorying, and enjoying himself, making everybody enjoy. The descriptions of Lord Shiva given there is that he is very eager to satisfy the Vaishnavas. So when he sees Gopakumar there, he says, you're from Brahma, look, you become Brahma, you came here for this. Yes. Instead on, he was with him. Again, very innocently, Lord Shiva was dealing with him without any qualms. You see? And he would faint, he would meditate. So Gopakumar thinks he's such a great personality. Wow, who is he? Said, you do not know, he's Lord Shiva, But, oh, wow. And then he sees that he's revived in external consciousness by his wives. They come, they glorify him. He gets up again he's in trance, transcendental. And then he sees suddenly that some 4-armed Vishnu forms people come, and Lord Shiva runs towards them, visiting them. He embraces them so much, he's so attached to them. And here, this Gopa thinks, he said, what is going on here? Who are these people? They are so beautiful. Are they Vishnu? They are Krishna? What is this? Where have I come? So Gopakumar thinks like this. So Lord Ganesha is with him. He says he whispers in his mouth, in his ears. So why did he whisper? So it is confidential. What he was speaking to Gopakumar's ears should not be heard by Lord Shiva's devotees. So they'll be disturbed. Oh, so what was he saying? Lord Ganesha was saying, the Ganesh was saying to him that these are from Vaikuntha planet. Oh, they're from Vaikuntha planet. It's separate. Something is different than where Shiva lives. So different planet. He said, yes. He said, and they are going to different Brahma's abodes. I said, what do you mean? He was also Brahma himself. He gave the position and came here. So yeah, there are, 8 billion diameter Brahma, then 12 head Brahma, then 100 head Brahma. So they are going there to meet them. Absolutely fantastic. And here Lord Shiva is seeing them in an ecstasy. And Lord Shiva is very concerned about the devotees, Vaishnavas. And Vaishnavas are also very dear to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is very dear to Vaishnavas also. So at this level, we should be having a clear understanding about Lord Shiva's position and Ganesha's position too. So we do not artificially reject them. Some of us, for us, it will be just words. But I hope that the husbands would would teach their wives about this point, not to overdo things. But those who are the leaders program, I cannot differentiate any further from here and take people away and train them separately. Because even I'm under training, you see. That we cannot still, we have to understand the exalted position of Lord Shiva and other demigods too. That's why this example is very important for Gop. Don't jump to this point. Don't jump to this study of this scriptures for now. It's not relevant at the moment, but it is important for our point, so I mentioned this thing to you. So, understanding Krishna, these are pointers which I thought we should be focusing upon, which are very important to me. And I thought I should share with all of you this point. Yeah. What do we understand? How do we take from this is up to us. You know? Okay. Thank you very much. I think we exceeded our time limit today. Already because it was the last verse, so I spoke. You know. All right. Anyone wants to say anything? Please feel free before we finish today's class. Thank you. Okay. And one last point, that the only way to remember Krishna is to glorify Krishna. After Rasa dance, when Krishna left the gopis, you know, there are not one rasa, the other rasas keeps on happening, you know. The gopis don't know what to do, so they sat and they chanted his names. That's what they did. The chanting of the holy name is the single most and only important element in devotional service, which will take us back to Godhead. When the gopis could do that, why not us? And we discussed, I think, in one of the class also before that, the gopis are so exalted, I think last Wednesday, that even they themselves are so down to earth, you know. They took the position of just cowherd girls, milkmaids. They are called milkmaids. In the village you go, there are those women who carry milk on their head, and they go selling the milk in the market, and they come back and they live. This was the position of gopis, but so exalted they were. You see, so all these artificial opulences are not needed. We have to focus upon this one important opulence of detachment and see how simple Krishna is. And we have to be very simple in our devotional service. You know, dealing with Krishna, we should be very simple, not complication. Yes, for material things, we have to be complicated. We have to show shrewdness. But if you are straightforward, people will think you are shrewd. But you're not shrewd, you are straightforward. People will get fired out if you ask them a few questions, just because you're straightforward, you know. But that is needed, so people don't disturb you. But internally, they're very simple, you know. The simple we are, the more we can remember Krishna. The more we understand the world doesn't revolve around us. The more we understand Krishna is a person around whom the world revolves. And then we understand it's actually Radharani around whom Krishna revolves. So we all have to revolve around Radharani. That position we have to still get is the topmost position. Okay? Thank you very much. I think we should wait for 10 seconds and then we'll finish the class today. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is ki, Jai.
Jai.
Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai.
Jai.
Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Jai.
Jai.
Srila Gurudev ki, Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.